Won't.
Hello, and welcome to the first edition of Greatest Records, courtesy of the TimTom podcast. Just going to get some buddies of ours on the podcast to talk about a favourite record of theirs. And who better to be our first guest than Connor, regular contributor to the show.
Hello.
So tell us, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about Speed and Bullet to Heaven by Kid Cudi. No, we're talking
Oh,
about.
my favourite.
We're talking about To Pimp A Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar, which, in my view, is one of the best albums ever and is probably my favourite album that I've ever listened to. I say probably because I don't know. There's definitely a few contenders, but this is the one that I always go back to.
And as we just discussed, you've never listened to Teflon Don by Rick Ross.
Exactly. I know it's an amazing album. I may not have listened to it, but that's not important.
So, what makes it so near and dear to your heart?
What makes it so near and dear to my heart is that probably, well, first off, when I first heard the album, I didn't really get it. I didn't really like it, to be honest. I was a bit like, what is Kendrick doing? What is this weird shit? And then every time I've listened to this album since the 5 years that he dropped it ago, that didn't make sense, but you know what I mean. I've enjoyed it more and more, and it's also such a deep, layered, conceptual album, and there's so much you can strip back from it. That's why I love it. It's like a living organism kind of thing. It's weird, but it's so good. So yeah.
And it's one of those ones where you just sort of pick up nuances every time.
Exactly, yeah.
That sort of, for me at least,
Mm.
what's going on in the instrumental. Even the last time I picked it up, there was something new.
Yeah, and it's like it's one of those albums that I mean the music side is one thing, but it's like you could it's kind of you can study it in a way because it's like every song has like so many there's so many different meanings to it. I mean, you know, a guy made like that that Dissect podcast. He made like a whole series and an episode for each song, like going through each one. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's so like deeply layered. But that's one bit, and then like on top of that is the music is like phenomenal. It's amazing. There's so many like intricacies that like the music itself reflects the lyrics and the concepts that he's like portraying on that album because um, it's just brilliant and he does it very well. And obviously all the contributors and collaborators like Thundercat and Fine Lotus, who I'm pretty sure they played like quite an integral role on that album. I think.
Thundercat was all over this.
Yeah.
However, unfortunately, Flylo only did the first song.
Oh right. Oh okay. So Thundercat then. But yeah, you can tell as well because the bass on this album pretty damn fine.
Yeah, his bass is everywhere.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And I think this is one of the, in terms of just a star-studded track list, feature list, not so much, but producer list.
Oh yeah. It's also the samples as well, like just crazy.
And I think from sort of like you were saying, a topical point of view, it's really about being a rapper that's made it, and
Mm-hmm.
also being a black man.
Yes, yeah. There's so many. It's like there's so many ways you can look at it. You can look at it from a race perspective. You can look at it from like him just going through the motions of like success and how he's dealt with that. You can look at it as like a kind of political statement on like and just him reacting to what he's seeing like right now. There's there's so many different things. Obviously, he like throughout he uses this. There's like this poem that he uses, where he kind of like gets more and more into it as the album like goes on, and he ends parts of the poem that are like linked to the next song. So it's just like it's structured so well. And it's all about like Lucy, which is Lucifer the devil, and how like this fame and success is kind of the devil in a way, because it's been tempting him and it's been like persuading him to do like all these things that are not like good for him, or like would completely kind of, I don't know, lead him astray and like lead him into the wrong kind of pathway. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's crazy that he linked them all together with that poem.
Yeah, yeah.
And I sort of forgot until I re-listened to it how often he adds to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it doesn't come into Institutionalized, which is track 4.
Yeah.
And then after that, it just sort of keeps going. And then at the climax,
Yep.
he goes into an interview where he sort of edited a speech of, or not a speech, another interview with Tupac where he gets him to ask the questions.
Yeah.
In a way that he wants them to be answered, which and he does it in quite a tasteful way.
He does, yeah. It kind of blew my mind at first when I heard it, because it just sounded like a real interview. But yeah, it was cool because like that. I mean, that last track I love as well, because he just like it's a lot. I mean, it's 12 minutes long. I mean, the whole album is a lot, but like what he goes through, he kind of like sums up what he's trying to say on this album, where he's just like, obviously he's called the album To Pimp A Butterfly, and like all the struggle and like depression he's gone through is kind of like the cocoon that, he started off as like the caterpillar, which, before all this success and before all this fame, and then he went through like kind of the motions of like, being an up and coming rapper, and then, meeting Dre, and then like obviously entering the music industries and all the kind of people who want to take from him and exploit him, and then like, he's deep, like it's in You as well, which is like one of the craziest tracks that he's ever released, I think, is he just kind of like this is probably the most prominent track about his like depression and his angst, because like he has like survivor's guilt, because he hasn't he feels like he hasn't like helped enough back home, when like all of his people are like dying and like kind of fighting a war in a way. So it's just like it's kind of like you can go into so much. It's like confusing in a way, because it's there's just so much to it, but like the base of it is just like he had to go through this cocoon, this like suffering, before he realized like what he could use his like superstar rap status for good for, in a way. So I don't know, that was probably a bit of a ramble there, but
No, that's all right.
yeah.
I think the other crazy thing about this album is that there is one lone rap feature in Rhapsody.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, Snoop Dogg is on here, but he only really does a sort of monologue.
Yeah.
So what is the track that really encapsulates, or tracks that really encapsulate what this album is all about for you?
I think, well, like I just was talking about, You is one of the most like I think it's the kind of middle part of the album, and it's that track is just like mental, and it's not something you just put on really, but when you listen to it, it's like you know, you even hear like in the second part of the song him drinking and like whilst he's spitting bars, and I think he actually was drinking when he did that. But yeah, You is like a really good song, and I love Mama as well, and How Much a Dollar Cost. I think that maybe those three songs are like the ones that kind of really show what the album's about to me, and The Black of the Berry. Well, all of them basically, but you know, it's just kind of him having a battle with his ego, and those songs really like show that off in a way. And The Black of the Berry is just like brilliant. It's like very intense banger about white supremacy. Yeah, those few songs are definitely the ones that stand out the most for me. What about you?
I think just from just right at the start, the way that Wesley's Theory
Yeah,
just lays out the whole how artists get pimped by the industry, which is certainly a part of the whole message of the album.
yeah, definitely.
And then how it goes into Full Free, where he's basically explaining how he's gamed the system and how he's making loads of money.
Yeah.
It's pretty slick. I just love the way that it all sort of unravels.
Yeah. It's brilliant. I think it's one of those albums that's hard to kind of. I don't know. For me personally, I find it hard to just listen to one song on there every now and then. Like I kind of have to listen to it as a whole piece, really, to really like get the most out of it.
Although I'm just looking, and Red Foo from LMFAO has a writer credit on King Kunta.
Wait, what? That's not something I expected.
But see, I think my favorite track would be These Walls, though, just that whole funky jam.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't really add much to certainly the social justice corner of the album.
No.
But
But
like Thundercat's bass is crazy on there.
yeah. Yeah, it has a lot in it as well. Like
The other thing, how is Anna Wise sounding so good on this, and yet on what was the Good Kid, Real? She sounds so bad.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
she lays down vocals on a few songs on this album.
Yeah.
Along with Bilal, we also have Thundercat singing, and then Ronald Isley and James Fauntleroy, and I don't think any of the singers miss really.
No, they're all like, yeah, it's amazing. Like, just a funk hip hop banger, really. And also, oh yeah, George Clinton's verse on Wesley's Theory, his bit on Wesley's Theory is probably one of the best parts of that album.
Look both ways when you cross my mind.
Yeah.
Kind of cringe.
A little bit cringe, but it's just the way he says it.
But yeah, just so many great producers. Obviously, Soundwave. We got Flying Lotus, like we said. Terrence Martin, Pharrell, Knowledge,
all the best ones. Yeah, and he, I think also like he had. I read something as well where like he had loads of stuff, like basically albums worth of stuff.
Boy Wonder.
Boy Wonder as well. Oh yeah, he was Black of the Berry, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably
the best
you were
saying
he's ever made. No, I was just saying that. What was I saying? Oh yeah, that he had like albums worth of stuff, and then when he went to South Africa like the year before, and then he just scrapped everything. So what I was confused about is that like he would have made this album, if that's true, he would have made this album in like a year, which is just like, I feel like it should have taken a lot longer than that for like, you know, how good it is. But
well, he's name dropped Nelson Mandela in Mortal Man, the final track, that I
Yeah,
definitely
he did.
noticed.
Yeah. So yeah.
But I remember him saying when Damn came out that he thought this was his least favorite of his albums.
Yeah, I'm just like, what the fuck? I don't agree with him. He's wrong, even though it's his album. You know, and Damn is nothing really in comparison. I mean, it's good, but it's, you know, doesn't really compare to this album.
I guess what we really want to know is which version of I do you prefer?
I prefer the one on the album, the live version. What about you?
I just really love the breakdown at the end of the studio version.
Yeah. It is missing that actually, but I do like. I think it's also, and it's not necessarily the last bit of the live version I like. I just like. I don't know. I just like hearing. It just sounds a lot more like instrumental and cool.
Do you think that was always the plan to like drop this clean studio version and then have like a live version that just completely sort of derailed the whole thing?
I reckon, yeah, because like I don't think Kendrick really half-asses anything he does. I think he literally, well, I mean, I'm sure that could be debated, but like with this album, it seems like he just literally planned out everything, and everything was thought through like really meticulously. Because because I was listening to this like podcast about it the other day, and the amount of stuff that I didn't even realize that he was like, there's so many like hidden things that he like subtly puts through all throughout the album in his like lyrics and the samples that he uses and like who he who he harks back to, and it's just like, I mean, I can't really remember much of it, but it's kind of like, whoa, this is like pretty genius.
So it came with the hits. It had, well, Ide was a big deal. So was King Kunta.
Yep,
It also came with the bangers,
it did.
All Right and Black of the Berry. Also came with the Thinker tracks, How Much a Dollar Costs, Mortal Man, Wesley's Theory.
Mm-hmm.
It's really got a bit of everything for everybody.
It does indeed.
So how can this not be one of the best albums ever?
I mean, it just is. It's not up for debate, I don't think. And anyone that wants to debate that.
I think when Pitchfork did their albums of the decade, it was number 2.
Oh, really?
And when we did ours, it was number 1.
Yes. Well, the TimTom podcast got it right then.
Well, there you are, my friend.
Like Pitchfork.
So, to sum it up, really, do you have any passing words for people that perhaps have not heard the album in full or at all?
I just think, to be honest, I keep, I guess I keep preaching that it's one of the best albums ever, but it's not one that you just go into and instantly love. Like, it's definitely, you got to put your kind of like introspective mind on. Even though it does have the bangers and everything, if you're listening to it as a whole album, you've got to be like, you've got to have a little bit of an open mind, I think. But saying that, it is just,
Is this album for Trump supporters?
Most definitely. Put it on and you will want to vote Trump even more. But no, it's like, it's got the music, which is the most important thing, but it's also got the topics and the conversation and the concepts, and yeah, it's just sick. Just fucking listen to it because it's an amazing album, and it gets better and better each time you listen to it.
Okay, and I want to sign off with asking you the final, most important question.
Of course.
What was your favorite moment of the whole album?
My favourite moment.
Just like a couple seconds
Oh, oh gosh.
that you can never forget.
I can never forget. Um, do you know what? Okay. When in the bit in Mama where he literally lists like everything he knows, and then towards the end of the song he just goes like, "I don't know shit," and that was a cool bit for me. There's probably cooler bits, but it's just like he made himself out to be like this kind of fucking spiritual know-all, and then he came back home and he was like, "I don't know shit."
Damn.
I was like, "Oh, damn." That was
For me personally,
yeah.
it's when on Hood Politics when he says Obama said what it do,
Oh
and
yeah.
then it just keeps repeating that over and over again.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Boo-boo. Yeah,
That might be my favorite song on the album, actually.
it's a great song.
They're all great songs.
They're all great songs, yeah.
And that's the message here.
It is.
Listen to them in order.
Yeah, don't listen to them, don't shuffle this album.
And then listen to them in reverse order.
Yes.
And see if you get a different concept.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll make loads of sense starting with Kendrick going, Park! 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 And then ending with the transition that usually goes perfectly into for free.
Yeah. Just it just flips the whole album on its head. I don't think I've actually listened to Damn in reverse yet.
I have.
Have you?
Mm-hmm.
Did it reveal some kind of amazing message that you never saw?
Yeah, I'm now a level 8 woke person.
Fuck. Okay, I really need to listen to this album in reverse.
So, do you agree that you shouldn't pimp butterflies?
I agree. I do agree in a way, but at the same time, I don't agree. And that's that on that.
Okay. Well, that concludes episode 1 of Greatest Records. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you've heard the album already and agree that it is one of, if not the best, sunny hip hop records to have the needle drop upon it.
Yes. It is an amazing record.
Because the first thing you hear when you put this album on is vinyl crackle, so you might as well listen to it as a record.
Yeah, get the vinyl. It's beautiful in the vinyl.
Do you think that's part of the sample, or did he want to make it sort of sound more vintage?
I don't know, actually. No, I think he did actually want to do that intentionally. Just as
Would be nice to know.
because he did, because he wanted to. A lot of the music that a lot of the samples that he used in the album was like from the 70s and 80s mainly. So I think he wanted to give it that vibe a little bit.
Well, no more prominent than Who's That Lady?
The lady.
On I.
Oh yeah.
Alright, well, until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.